This is live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India lodges protest over continuous attacks on ships with Indians off coast of Oman, says attacks must end. Iran shut Strait of Hormuz, targets US assets in Bahrain, Kuwait and Jordan. Iranian sources say talks intensify. And UK Defence Minister John Healey quits, says Prime Minister Starmer's plans fail to keep country safe. Soccer excitement gets real. FIFA World Cup 2026 kickstarts tonight, marking start of the mega edition of football's biggest tournament on planet Earth. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be travelling to France to participate in the 52nd G7 summit, which is scheduled to be held from June 15th to June 17th. The Secretary West, Ministry of External Affairs, Ambassador Sibi George said that Prime Minister Modi is visiting France on the invitation of French President Macron.
The Prime Minister will be travelling to Evian, France to participate in the 52nd G7 summit, which is to be held from 15 to 17 June. Where India has been invited as a partner country. The visit will provide an opportunity for the Honourable Prime Minister to engage with the world leaders present at the G Summit on issues of importance to India as well as to the global South.
Ambassador George asserted that India's regular participation in G7 summits reflects global recognition of its growing role in addressing challenges related to peace, security, development and sustainability.
India's regular participation at the G7 summits reflects the increasing recognition of India's role and contributions in addressing global challenges relating to peace, security, development and environmental sustainability. Also at the G7, as in other international forums, including the G20 and the OAS of Global South Summit, India has consistently brought to the forefront the priorities, concerns and developmental aspirations of the Global South.
Secretary further talked about the key priority areas of G7 summit.
The G7 summit under the French presidency has chosen some key priorities for the current year. In broad terms, these are reducing excessive macroeconomic imbalances and fostering shared growth, renewing international partnerships and development solidarity, strengthening the resilience of critical and mineral value chains, protecting miners online, settling major geopolitical crises, to work on the fight against organized crime and illicit flows, etc.
Additional Secretary for the Europe West Division in the Ministry of External Affairs, Ambassador Piyush Srivastava, noted that India-France ties have been elevated to a special global strategic partnership during President Emmanuel Macron's visit to India in February this year.
This is Prime Minister's 7th official visit to France. You may recall that President Macron visited Mumbai and Delhi in February this year for AI Impact Summit. As you all are aware, the India-France relationship was elevated to a special global strategic partnership in February 2026. During the visit to Nice, Prime Minister will hold comprehensive discussions with President Macron covering full range of areas of our partnership, as well as they will exchange views on regional and international issues of importance.
The Additional Secretary also said that Prime Minister Modi and President Macron will jointly inaugurate Bharat Innovates 2026, a landmark initiative showcasing India's innovation journey to global audience.
Prime Minister Modi will also jointly inaugurate Bharat Innovates along with President Macron. Bharat Innovates is a landmark initiative that showcases India's innovation journey to a global audience. Our startup ecosystem, deep tech startups, our digital public infrastructure, our advances in defense, space, and clean energy, and contributions of Indian talent to global technology. The Prime Minister's presence with President Macron at this event is itself a significant symbol of the depth of bilateral relationship in the domain of technology and innovation, especially this year, we are also celebrating as India-France Year of Innovation.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on an official visit to France and Slovakia from June 13 to 18, as we just told you. And his first stopover will be the beautiful Mediterranean French city of Nice. This is the venue for the ambitious Mega Bharat Innovates 2026. DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh gets this report from Nice.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a two-nation Europe visit to France and Slovakia. In France, he will visit three cities: Nice, Avion and capital Paris. We are in Nice. It's a beautiful city located between the Mediterranean Sea and the mountains. It is around one of the most beautiful bays in the world, often called the Bays of Angels. In Nice, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will have a bilateral engagement with French President Emmanuel Macron on 14th of June. The leaders will review the entire spectrum of India-France relationship that has already been elevated to special global strategic partnership earlier this year. In Nice, the two leaders will also jointly inaugurate the Bharat Innovates 2026. The flagship event brings together the top deep tech startups and innovators from India, France and across the world. Global investors will also join them at this venue, taking place in the India-France Year of Innovation. This flagship event celebrates the vibrant friendship between India and France. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit is expected to strengthen the time-tested friendship between India and France and also deepen India's engagement with the European Union. With camera person Aniket Dubey, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India, Nice.
Shifting focus to other news, the United States and Iran traded air attacks on Thursday, and President Donald Trump warned more strikes if Iran does not immediately agree to a peace deal. But Iranian sources say the talks on a preliminary deal had intensified. Three Iranian sources and a European official said the US and Iran were exchanging messages on details of a memorandum after reaching a political understanding, but some issues still had to be discussed in detail, including a mechanism for the release of billions of dollars in frozen Iranian funds. President Trump has repeatedly said a deal is close, but US officials did not immediately comment on the latest status of the indirect negotiations. The war has killed thousands of people, mainly in Iran and Lebanon, and pushed up global oil prices since the US and Israel launched heavy airstrikes on Iran on February 28. Hostilities have escalated this week despite a fragile ceasefire agreed in early April, with tit-for-tat attacks across Iran and on US bases in the region, following Monday's downing of a US Apache helicopter near the Strait of Hormuz. The US military says the latest attacks targeted military surveillance capabilities, communication systems and air defense sites across Iran in response to what it called Tehran's unwarranted and continued aggression. President Trump told a US-based news channel on Wednesday evening that the US strikes would stop shortly, but that he would resume heavy bombing if Iran's leaders did not sign an agreement with the US immediately. Meanwhile, Iran's new body overseeing the Strait of Hormuz on Thursday confirmed a complete closure order for the strategic waterway until further notice after the Revolutionary Guards announced the move overnight. The Persian Gulf Strait Authority said in a post on Platform X that due to the tensions caused by the aggression of the American forces in the region and the announcement made last night by the Iranian armed forces, the Strait of Hormuz will be closed until further notice. The Kremlin on Thursday called on the United States and Iran to exercise restraint and continue negotiations to end their war as the two sides exchanged attacks and US President Donald Trump threatened further escalation. India has strongly condemned the recent attack on a Palau-flagged tanker MT Satibelo off the coast of Oman, in which 3 Indian nationals have lost their lives. Addressing inter-ministerial media briefing in New Delhi on Thursday, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Randir Jaiswal noted that the continuing attacks on shipping in the region are deeply worrisome and are linked to the ongoing conflict.
We condemned the attack on a ship off the coast of Oman, in which unfortunately we lost 3 Indian nationals. We had summoned the US CDA here to register a strong protest. The continuing incidents of attacks on shipping in the region are deeply worrisome and a direct result of the ongoing conflict in the region. These attacks must cease and end, and we also call for dialogue and diplomacy so that we can have an early return to peace and stability in the region.
Additional Secretary in the Ministry of Ports, Shipping and Waterways, Mukesh Mangal, said that a fire broke out on the Palau-flagged vessel MT Marivex near the Oman coast on June 8th. All 24 Indian crew members on board were safely rescued by the Omani Air Force.
On 8th June, a fire was reported on board Palau-flagged vessel MT Marivex near Omani coast. There were 24 Indian crews on the vessel, and all crew members were safely rescued by Omani Air Force. On 10th June, yesterday, vessel MT Satibelo, Palau-flagged oil tanker was attacked and on-board emergency procedures were initiated. At the time of incidents, total 28 seafarers were there on the board, including 24 Indians, 2 Pakistani, 1 Russian and 1 Ukrainian. Unfortunately, 3 Indian crew members have lost their life, and we extend our deepest condolences. The remaining 25 crew members, including 21 Indians, have been safely evacuated.
Joint Secretary in the Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas, Sujata Sharma, has said the central government has urged states and union territories to encourage LPG consumers to transition fully to PNG.
Government of India, White Letter 10th June, has requested Chief Secretaries of all the states and union territories to issue necessary instructions to district collectors, district magistrates, commissioners, special officers of urban bodies to collaborate with respective SLCs, CGD entities to nudge and urge LPG consumers to fully migrate to PNG wherever available. The involvement of district and urban body administration will improve the outcome of ongoing effort of the government in expanding PNG network.
British Defence Secretary John Healey has resigned following a dispute with the Prime Minister Keir Starmer over military spending. In his resignation letter, Healey accused the government and the Treasury of failing to commit the resources needed to strengthen Britain's defence capabilities amid growing global security threats. The disagreement comes as talks between the Defence and the Finance Ministries over increased military spending have delayed Britain's defence investment plan for months. The uncertainty has also drawn criticism from the country's defence industry, which says delays are affecting long-term security and investment planning. Staying with more international news, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte on Thursday reaffirmed that the United States remains fully committed to NATO, dismissing concerns about Washington's dedication to the alliance. Speaking alongside Norwegian Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store in Brussels, Rutte said US's commitment is reflected daily through its military presence in Europe's leadership within NATO and support for collective defence.
The United States remains fully committed to NATO. We see that commitment every day, all over the alliance, with US troops in Europe, US leadership within the alliance, and US contributions to our collective defense.
The Kremlin on Thursday shrugged off the prospect of new European Union sanctions against its banks and said that Russian banks had already been operating under sanctions for a long time, and this had not stopped them from making a profit. The development came after the EU proposed a new package of sanctions against Russia for its war in Ukraine, heavily targeting the country's networks in an effort to weaken its financial system. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said that despite certain difficulties and trends of investment restraint or slowdown, the situation remains perfectly stable and under control.
As for the illegitimate sanctions and external restrictions against our banking system, this is not a new phenomenon. Our largest banks have been under sanctions. This does not prevent the banks from earning large profits, developing, maintaining absolute stability.
Now let's take a look at other stories making news around the world. The birth of critically endangered Sumatran elephant calf in Indonesia has brought renewed hope for wildlife conservation. The species remains under threat from shrinking habitats and growing human-wildlife conflict. A Greek bakery owner has built an 8-meter-high replica of the traditional Kritan Aira, celebrating Crite's cultural heritage and applying for a Guinness World Record. The giant 600-kilogram instrument now stands in Pitsidia village, attracting visitors from across Greece and beyond. Vietnam's Ninh Binh province is drawing visitors as its annual lotus season reaches peak bloom, covering the landscape in vibrant pink and white flowers. Tourists and photographers are flocking to the scenic lotus ponds, known for their beauty and stunning natural backdrops. And still to come on this edition of DT India Live. On the other side, Prime Minister Modi stresses collective efforts of centre and states for Viksit Bharat vision at Niti Aayog meeting. And Information and Broadcasting Minister Ashnavi Vaishnav participates in a Viksit Bharat Sankalp conference in Rajasthan's Jaipur. Welcome back. You're watching DT India Live. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and now let's move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi chaired the 11th Governing Council meeting of Niti Aayog at Rashtrapati Bhavan in national capital New Delhi on Thursday, where he said that India continues to move ahead with confidence and determination despite global uncertainty and instability. The meeting, themed as Inclusive Human Development for Viksit Bharat 2047, focused on the well-being and development of every Indian, regardless of age, region, gender or socio-economic background. Bringing together Chief Ministers and Lieutenant Governors, the Governing Council deliberated on an inclusive human development framework built around 4 key pillars: future-ready skills and human capital, employment and entrepreneurship, health and nutrition, and equity and dignity for all. Prime Minister Modi stressed that cooperation and dialogue between the centre and the states remain essential to achieving the vision of Viksit Bharat by 2047, while highlighting youth empowerment and women-led development as major drivers of India's growth journey. The 13th BRICS Urbanization Forum has commenced in New Delhi today, bringing together housing ministers, urban planners and policy experts from across the bloc to address the mounting pressures of rapid population growth in the global south. Held under India's 2026 BRICS chairship, the high-level multilateral event centers on the themes cities for people, BRICS cooperation for inclusive and resilient urban futures. Over the course of two-day forum, delegates will discuss critical pathways to build climate-resilient infrastructure, enhance municipal financial systems and deploy digital public infrastructure to streamline civic governance.
We see rapid urbanization as an opportunity for innovation, infrastructure and investment, one that is enabled by a strong and progressive policy environment. Our urban realities may not be identical, but our aspirations, however, are deeply connected. The themes of this forum, cities for people, BRICS cooperation for inclusive and resilient urban futures, reflects that shared goal. Over the next 2 days, we will examine these themes through closely connected priority areas.
Information and Broadcasting Minister Shnavi Vaishnav participated in a Viksit Bharat Sankalp conference organized in Jaipur on Thursday. Addressing the gathering, Minister Vaishnav said that the unprecedented work carried out by the Government of India over the past 12 years in various sectors has given the country a new identity on the global stage.
जिस तरह का काम अभी इन 12 वर्षों में हुआ है, उस काम के कारण दुनिया में आज भारत की एक नई पहचान बनी है। उस नई पहचान में रेलवे का भी प्रधानमंत्री जी ने जो ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन किया है, वो भी एक उसमें शामिल होता है।
Let's now take a look at other stories making news. Well, large flocks of migratory flamingos have been spotted in the salt pans of Tuticorin in Tamil Nadu, highlighting the ecological importance of the coastal habitat and the need for stronger conservation during migration season. The arrival of the birds has transformed the salt pans into a vibrant spectacle, attracting bird enthusiasts and nature lovers. The Singareni Collieries Company Limited in Telangana has reaffirmed its commitment to both efficient coal mining and environmental conservation after mine closure. The company has implemented all components of the mine closure plan, covering environmental protection and reclamation and rehabilitation from mining operations through closure. A scientific conclave on Indian Pharmacopoeia 2026 was held in Haridwar, Uttarakhand, highlighting pharmacopoeial standards in strengthening pharmaceutical quality. It also strengthens stakeholder engagement to improve pharmaceutical quality and ensure quality assured medicines. Well, India's southern state, Kerala state, is in a grip of frenzy ahead of FIFA World Cup kickoff in Mexico on Thursday night. Villages and towns have been transformed into giant fan zones draped in the colors of Argentina, Brazil and Portugal. For fans here, the excitement goes far beyond the 90 minutes on the field. There are lively debates, friendly rivalries, endless football chatter before the kickoff and long after the final whistle.
At first glance, these streets could easily be mistaken for Buenos Aires, Rio de Janeiro or Lisbon. But these streets are in Kerala. Across the state, villages and towns have been transformed into giant fan zones. Draped in the colors of Argentina, Brazil and Portugal ahead of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. For fans here, the excitement goes far beyond the 90 minutes on the field. There are lively debates, friendly rivalries, and endless football chatter before the kickoff and long after the final whistle. While allegiances to football teams may be diverse, the community remains united in their love for the game. Fans of different teams come together to watch matches on big screens, turning every game into a community event. Rivalry stays friendly and football takes the center stage. When it comes to showing support, fans here believe bigger is better. Towering cutouts, giant banners and eye-catching flexboard battles have turned football fever into a spectacle of its own. Amid the excitement, however, there's also a sense of longing. Once again, India will be absent from football's biggest tournament. Yet, fans here have found a reason to celebrate. Tehseen Mohammed, a player of Indian origin whose parents hail from Kerala's Kannur district, will represent Qatar at the World Cup, giving local fans a special connection to the global event. Organizers say the celebrations are about more than celebrating a favorite team. They hope the enthusiasm surrounding the tournament will inspire younger generations to embrace football and strengthen community bonds through the game. The FIFA World Cup 2026 kicks off on Thursday, June 11th. No wonder fans across Kerala are counting down the hours to a month of football fiesta, friendly rivalries, and absolute happiness.
FIFA's fever in Kerala in India. And the FIFA World Cup 2026, as we do know, kickstarts on Thursday tonight, marking the start of the mega edition of the football's biggest tournament on planet Earth. The opening match will be played between host Mexico and South Africa at the Mexico City Stadium. And this World Cup will feature 48 teams and a total of 104 matches hosted across 3 countries, the US, Canada and Mexico. Teams are divided into 12 groups of 4. The top 2 teams from each group, along with 8 best third-place teams, will move to the round of 32. From there, the tournament will follow a knockout format until the final, which will be played at the New Jersey Stadium in New York. And that's all we have for you in this edition of DD India Live. But let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. This app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Sakal Bhatt, and from all of us here in Delhi, thanks for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.